Okay, I'm just waiting to bring this on the screen.
Yes, sir.
Okay, are you able to see it on the screen?
Yes, sir.
Are
We
you?
do.
Good. Good. Yes, we're looking at Advanced Communication Studies Year 3 on Lesson 5, usage. That is how a word or a phrase is customarily or regularly used in a particular language. The general objectives for this lesson are: number 1, to define usage; 2, to examine the different views on what governs usage; 3, to examine examples of usage. The specific objectives are: 1, at the end of this lesson, the students will have given 5 definitions on usage. 2, at the end of this lesson, the students will have given 2 different views on what governs usage. 3, at the end of this lesson, the students will have explored 15 examples of usage. Now let us look at the definitions of the word usage from different online dictionaries. Number 1, usage is from the Latin word usus, which means to use. Number 2, usage refers to regular ways in which words or phrases are used, spoken, or written in a speech community. Now, when it is said a speech community, it means a group of people that speak the same way and that speak the same language. Number 3, usage is the customary manner in which a language or a form of a language is spoken or written. Number 4, usage is the way a particular word in a language or a language in general is used. Number 5, usage is the manner in which the written and spoken language is routinely employed by its speakers. That is, it refers to the collective habits of a language's native speakers, as opposed to theoretical or idealized models of how a language works or should work in the abstract. Now, there is one thing that each of these definitions have in common, and that is it refers to something that is spoken or written regularly. It is something that is done as a habit, as a custom, as a routine. So there are different ways in which people may use a word, and usage refers to the regular way in which a group of people who speak the same language and who speak in the same way use a word or a phrase. And they use it so regularly in a particular way that when somebody uses it in a different way from how it is ordinarily used, they can pick it up that something is odd or different or strange in the way that person has used the word or phrase. Now, there are 2 different schools of thought on usage, and you've already seen one of them from the very definition. In definition number 5, It says usage is the manner in which the written and spoken language is routinely employed by its speakers. That is, it refers to the collective habits of a language's native speakers. And notice this part, as opposed to theoretical or idealized models of how a language works or should work in the abstract. Now, let me simplify this for you. What this is saying is that there is one school of thought that thinks that a grammar book should not tell people how to use a particular word or phrase, that is not an authentic record of how a particular word or phrase is used by a particular set of speakers. That rather than prescribe how people should use a word or phrase, that how it is already being used by the speakers should be recorded as a description of how they regularly use a word or phrase. So there is one school of thought that you may call descriptive grammars, in which rather than telling people how they should use a word or phrase, it documents or records how that word or phrase is being used presently. And you're not telling them how they should use it or how they should not use it. And this is number one, two different views on usage. And the first view is the descriptive view. In the descriptive tradition of language analysis, correct usage tends to mean functionally adequate for the purposes of the speaker or writer using it. Functionally adequate means that it does its work properly. It is okay as it is, because it does help people to communicate the correct meaning to each other by the way that the word or phrase is used. It is believed that since the English language is not dead, but it is living, that it will continue to develop and it will not be fixed. Well, I can say that is certainly true. For even in my lifetime, and my lifetime is still not finished, but even in my lifetime, I have seen that in childhood, a word was used with a particular meaning. And much later on in my adult life, that same word was used with a different meaning. And I'm not talking about centuries later, just decades later. So languages that are being used and are not just written and not used anymore are going to develop. For example, some words have changed their spelling over time. Now, I'm not referring to my own experience. I'm just going back into history of the English language now. Shop, S-H-O-P-P-E, shop. And I can see that Brother Solin does not recognize this word. Don't be anxious or worried about that, because a lot of English language speakers in Jamaica would not know what this word is at all. But this is how the word shop, the place where you go to buy bun and cheese and orange juice and milk, this is the way that English speakers used to spell it. S-H-O-P-P-E, and it is now S-H-O-P. So the last P and the E was taken off. God be with ye is now goodbye. So what used to be said in centuries gone by, God be with ye, or God be with all of you, is now is now simply goodbye, but it originated from this sentence here. Goodbye originally was God be with ye. Even in the present time, American English is different from British English. For example, COLOR is American English, but COLOUR is British English. What the Americans did when the English colonists from the United Kingdom migrated to the American continent was to simplify their language so that the pronunciation and the spelling would match. And that is why they left out the U and just had COLOR for color. So this is the descriptive tradition. When you describe how language is used, you're not telling those people who are using the language how they should use it. You're not telling them that how they're using it is wrong, but you are writing down a description of how words and phrases are currently being used by a set of speakers. This is descriptive. Another view on usage, which is more common in educational institutions, is the prescriptive tradition. Now, just as how you might go to a medical doctor and the doctor may write a prescription for you to take to a pharmacy to get the medication you need to get better. So there are some language experts that believe that they should put down in a grammar book how a word or phrase should be used. And so this is called prescriptive. That's really what we're doing for the most part in communication studies. It is prescriptive rather than descriptive. That is what we're doing in the Hebrew language. It is more prescriptive than descriptive. We're looking at what experts in the language have written concerning the proper way of speaking and writing a particular language. So the dominant tradition in language is the prescriptive tradition. So in the prescriptive tradition of language analysis, correct usage is a matter of language experts judging what is the correct style of using the language and telling others how they should use it. This is what is taught in English language classes in the education system of various countries. Usage does not follow general rules in English, but it has to be learned case by case. Okay, what you would expect a word or a phrase to be used as does not necessarily conform to the general rules of grammar in English, and so it has to be learned by observation. We will soon get into the specific examples of these things. So here are the examples of how a word or phrase may be used. On the left side is the incorrect usage. On the right side is the correct usage. So in the incorrect usage, number one, how do you get to school? With a bus. And then on the right side, how do you get to school? By bus. Now, technically speaking, if I were to analyze with and by, I would tell you that both are referring to the same thing. With and by refer to the means by which, or the instrument by which something is done. You have that in Hebrew also, with the Hebrew were with the Hebrew inseparable preposition be. It may be translated as in, with, or by. That is true in the New Testament Greek. In the language, the Greek preposition en, epsilon nu, may be translated as in, with, or by. And if you're translating it as with or by, they're even closer than in, because with or by is referring to the instrumentality or the means by which something is done. And the question is being asked, how do you get to school? How do you leave your home and come to school? What is the means or method of transportation from home to school? The incorrect usage, we're told, is with the bus. We normally do not say with the bus. What we do say customarily is by bus. Okay, so even though grammatically speaking, both could be correct because they are referring to the means by which something is done, the means by which you are transported from one place to the other. The way that it is used by most people in the English language is to use the preposition by rather than the preposition with. How do you get to school? By bus. Now, the incorrect usage for number 2. Do you have anything against headaches? Now, we can understand why the word against is used. We don't normally say that. This is not the way we ordinarily use this question. But the idea behind the word against is that you're trying to fight the headache. It is giving you pain in your head, and you want to get rid of this pain. Do you have anything against headaches? However, the way that we ordinarily use this question is not by using the word against, but the word for. Do you have anything for headaches? Meaning, do you have anything for curing me of the headaches that I have? And it boils down to the same meaning, but this is the way we customarily use this question. We don't say against, but we say for. Do you have anything for headaches? The incorrect usage for number 3. Why are you so rude with me? We do not ordinarily or regularly or customarily or habitually use the word with in such a question like this, even though we can understand grammatically why with is used. Because with has to do also not only with means by which something is done, but it can also refer to one's relationship to another, that we are in company together. So you are asking, why are you so rude with me? I am in your company, I am talking with you, and you are so rude with me in dealing with me. However, we don't normally speak like this. Why are you so rude with me? We say something else. We use the preposition to. Why are you so rude to me? Okay, and although the meaning is basically the same, you are actually saying, why are you so rude towards me or to me? So this is the correct usage from the prescriptive tradition. This is the way it is ordinarily used by English language speakers. The incorrect usage for number 4. Why are you so angry to me? We don't ordinarily say to when we are speaking about somebody being angry with another. even though basically we understand that the anger is directed towards this other person. We don't ordinarily use to. How we use it in the correct usage is, why are you so angry with me? And another way I've heard it used also is this, why are you so angry at me? So we could say either with me or at me. Your anger is directed towards me, and we ordinarily use either with me or at me. Incorrect usage number 5. We had a great holiday in Japan. People were friendly where we went. Well, we can understand that. People were friendly where we went. And you were in Japan. And so the context shows us that the place or places where we went were in Japan. However, this is not so clear. It's not so specific, even though we know that this is an adverb showing location. We ordinarily use this in a different way. We usually say wherever. But when you use the word ever, you are not limiting your location to one particular town, but you are using it to refer to an indefinite number of places that you had gone to while you were in Japan. So wherever would be more accurate, or it would be more specific in showing that you were not just in one part of Japan, but you were in different areas of the country of Japan. We had a great holiday in Japan. People were friendly wherever we went. Incorrect usage number 6. We would have 3 cats when we lived in the countryside. Now, this is not the way that we customarily say this when we are referring to something that happened in the past and something that was customarily done in the past. We would have 3 cats. This is how we use it regularly. We used to have 3 cats when we lived in the countryside. And when you use the expression used to have, you are saying that this was the regular practice in the past when we were living in the country. We used to have 3 cats. Okay, and even though we can understand the same thing from number 6 over here, incorrect usage, it is clearer to use this expression used to have than would have. Incorrect usage number 7. Your old computer isn't worth to be repaired. Well, even though this is the incorrect usage, we still understand what this is meaning. It is saying that your computer is too old and it is not worth the expense to get it repaired. It is better for you to buy a new computer. That's the idea. The computer is too old, so don't spend your money on repairing it. It is better that you use that same money to buy a new computer. That's the idea here. Your old computer isn't worth to be repaired. However, we don't usually say it like this. In number 7, correct usage, we ordinarily say your old computer isn't worth repairing. Your old computer isn't worth repairing. Now, especially for people who don't speak English as their native language, you were not born in a country speaking English, you may say, oh goodness, how can I know what is the correct usage and what is the incorrect usage? Because these two ways of speaking seem so much alike. Don't worry about that. As I said earlier in this lesson, it's not so much that the incorrect usage violates rules of speaking English grammar, but usage is referring to the way people generally and customarily use a word or a phrase in a language. And that is why we have incorrect usage, correct usage. This is how they regularly speak. And so even now, for people like me who have been speaking English language from I was a baby, it is something you have to learn by listening and by observation. So don't bother your brain about how am I going to recognize correct usage and incorrect usage. Number 8, I don't know if to buy a new computer. Okay, well, we understand the idea here. The person does not know if they should buy a new computer or if they should not buy a new computer. However, this is not the ordinary way in which we say this. We ordinarily don't say if. What we usually say is whether. I don't know whether to buy a new computer. I say something more than that ordinarily. My personal usage is to say, I don't know whether or not to buy a new computer. In that way, I'm bringing across the idea that I might buy the computer, but on the other hand, I'm not sure if I should buy it. So whether or not to buy a new computer, whether to buy a new computer or not to buy a new computer. But we ordinarily use the word whether rather than the word if. Incorrect usage number 9. Do you want that I help you? Well, this sounds awkward and strange. Do you want that I help you? The person is simply asking, do you want me to help you? But this is not the way we ordinarily ask this question. The way we ordinarily ask it is number 9, do you want me to help you? So instead of saying that you say to. Do you want me to help you? Number 10, incorrect usage. Don't start teaching until I will get home. Well, we do not ordinarily use the word will when we are saying something like this. We ordinarily leave it out and we say, don't start eating until I get home. It is understood that you are not yet at home and you're on your way home, so it's in the future. And you're just asking them to wait until you get home before they start to eat. Don't start eating until I get home. So we ordinarily leave out the will. Incorrect usage number 11. If you're not home until 8 o'clock, I'm going to start without you. This sounds like a follow-up sentence from number 10. But the person replies to the one who says, do not eat until I get home. If you're not home until 8 o'clock, I'm going to start without you. However, in the correct usage, we don't usually say until, but we say by. If you're not home by 8 o'clock, I'm going to start without you. Number 12, incorrect usage. The test was too difficult for the students to do it. Usually we don't use the word it, even though grammatically it could work, because it is a pronoun referring to the noun test. But usually we leave out the pronoun. In number 12, the test was too difficult for the students to do. So we don't usually put the pronoun it. Number 13, incorrect usage. There are many poor in Africa. And a lot of people still use the adjective poor. The adjective poor is being used like a noun. There are many poor, understood to be poor people, but they don't put the word people. We have that in other languages. For example, in the Greek New Testament, there are certain adjectives that are used like nouns. So we do that also in English, but to be more clear or to be clearer in our language, this is considered to be incorrect usage. We don't just say poor, but we add people. There are many poor people in Africa. Incorrect usage number 14. He replied he had not received the email. Well, we understand this, but this is not the way it is customarily used. We use the word that. He replied that he had not received the email. We usually use the word that when we are using what is called reported speech. When you are reporting what somebody has said, you introduce what was said by the word that. If it is direct speech and you're not reporting in your own words what the person said, then you introduce what the person said by putting it in quotation marks. But if you're reporting what somebody said, you introduce what they said by the word that. So we do not ordinarily just say he replied he had not received the email, but he replied that he had not received the email. Number 15, her middle name is the same than mine. Well, we definitely don't use it like that. We don't usually say than, we say as. As and than are both used in comparisons. For example, we may say, this person is taller than me, or this person knows more French than me. So than is used in comparison, just as is used in comparison. I am as tall as Richard Roy. Okay, so we use both words, than and as, in using comparison. But in ordinary usage, we find that English language speakers use the word as. Her middle name is the same as mine in such a sentence like this. Her middle name is the same as mine. Okay, so this is just an example of what usage is. Usage is a customary way in which a group of people speak. And actually, in real life, there are different types of usages because different types of English language speakers have different ways of expressing themselves. Okay, so there is a school of thought that says you shouldn't say that this is the correct usage because people use words and phrases differently from group to group, even though they're speaking the same language. But what I've shared with you is in the prescriptive tradition from language experts that look at how a word or phrase is ordinarily used. Okay, do you have any question on the lesson usage?
Yes, sir. It's all clear. Though I am wondering about some of these words here. No, sir. The previous PowerPoint. Well, the previous slide. Yes, sir. This one. Some of these words, like God be with ye, and they put it now as goodbye and shop, So while you say that they were used before in English history, so I
Yeah.
was wondering where exactly does these came from the England people or from the West Germanic English? Because at first England spoke French from 1033 to 1360 something. So it was their official language. Then afterward, the West Germanic people had the English and brought it in England, or they had the English and they brought it into England now. And so they start speaking it. So I was wondering if these words start with the Germanic people or with the England people. That's what I was wondering about.
Okay, thank you for your question. I'm going to note that down in my notebook and do some research on it.
Yes,
I
sir.
am not I'm not aware of how the change came about from God be with ye to goodbye. All I know
Yes.
is that there was a change and that languages that are spoken undergo changes in some of the words and phrases. So that is a good question. I will do some research. Do you know the answer, Brother Solin?
No, sir, I don't know, to be
Okay.
honest. But I knew that English was not official language of the British people or the England. It came from the West Germanic area.
Yeah.
So that is why I ask if they had it before, because it was a long, really long time ago.
Yes. Now
Yes, sir.
going back even earlier than the dates you have given, Britain was part of the Roman Empire and they spoke Latin. Latin was the official language of the Roman Empire,
Yes, sir.
but Greek was the common language. The Koine Greek, the word Koine means common, a language spoken generally. That was the international language in the first century. In fact, in about the first 5 centuries, it was the international language. And
Yes,
then
sir.
it was replaced by Latin as the common language. So the people in Britain spoke Latin during the days of the Roman Empire. They would also have been influenced by the Greek language, the Koine common Greek language. So what we have as English is really a language that has developed from Latin and from Greek. We do have some Greek words in English. We have a lot of Latin words in English. And you're correct. I believe that there was a war between Britain and France, and the French conquered them and imposed their language upon Britain. So for a while, they spoke French, as you have said. So there is also some French words in the English language. And there would also have been influence from Germany. And so English is a mixture of different languages. I
Yes, sir.
suppose that is why it is so difficult to learn it. In contrast to Spanish or French, it's a mixture of different languages. But I will do research. I will write that down and do some research on the origin of goodbye. How did it develop from God be with ye into goodbye? God be with ye is really better than just saying goodbye, because you're using God in this, asking that God be with that person as we separate from each other.
Yes, sir.
It just shows you the influence that Christianity had on the English people in their own language, that they would have God be with ye as a parting greeting. Okay, any other question? All right. Now, there will be no test next week, but I will be reviewing this lesson on usage, and then I will be giving a test on this lesson on the Thursday after next week, Thursday, Lord willing. Okay,
Yes, sir.
that will be the third test, entitled Usage. After that, I will start to review for the final exam. So I will have about 2 Thursdays in which to review all the lessons from 1 to 5 in preparation for the final exam. So this is really the last lesson for this trimester, and then I will review. Okay, well, let us get ready for chapel. Take care. I'll see you in chapel.
Okay, sir.
God willing. Yes.